Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. Uh, so, first off, I think we will all notice. I think I got it working the first time. Man, who knew? Who knew? So, hopefully, everyone's hearing me, everyone is seeing me, and let's get started. So, episode two, I'm going to be focusing on presentations, technical presentations. Got a few tips, tricks, do's, don'ts, what have you, what you need to be aware of when not only giving a presentation, but when preparing a presentation. Let's get started. So the first thing is that I want to talk about is when as SEs we usually get a deck, whether it's from marketing or whether it was from a fellow colleague when you first started, uh, which is fine. But the one thing you want to remember is that those decks are not absolute. You want to customize those decks so that not only are you giving the right presentation to the right people, but also that you are focusing on what the prospect or your customer wants to hear and what they want to talk about. A deck cannot be all in one. If a customer is interested in cloud, let's say Azure Virtual Desktop, they don't want to know about Azure Active Directory in depth. You've got this big deck all planned out. I know I'm just throwing things out there. You want to focus the deck on Azure Virtual Desktop. You're going to have the tie-in clearly because Azure AD is required, but you aren't going to focus on that. That's not going to be your focus. And if you've got just this big deck with all these slides about both, you're not listening to the customer. You're not giving them the information that they want to hear, and that's critical. Second, and I sort of mentioned this already, is you want to know your audience. You want to present the right information to the right people. One of the biggest mistakes is giving the same presentation that, say, you gave to the administrators when you first walked into the company. And now they want you to present the product to C-level executives, higher level directors, those types of people. They don't care about the same things as the administrators care about. So you need to tailor those messages, those presentations to the appropriate people, to your audience. You need to be able to give the right people the right information. Again, and same goes for end users. You want to tailor your message to end users. And that's just in general. If you're talking to an end user group and you start telling them, yeah, it's going to make life easier for the administrator, it's going to make it easier to manage, deploy images, blah blah blah. They don't care. They don't care. I don't care who your end users are. They want to know how how this affects them. How is it going to make their life better, easier? How much interference is there going to be, say, during an upgrade or during a deployment? They've got their concerns, and their concern is, how is this going to affect my job? Is it going to make it easier? Is it going to make it harder? Is it going to be very different? We've all been there. We've all talked to them, and those are all valid concerns from an end user standpoint, and they need to be addressed correctly. Giving them the same spiel that you gave the administrators, giving the administrative spiel to the C level and all the way around, those are three very distinct messages that must be tailored to the audience. You're also going to have mixed audiences. That's just you got to find a line in there. You got to kind of deliver to all. But again, it's tailored so you're not delivering the deep tech presentation to a mixed audience. You need to really get that correct. And when you're customizing the deck, in fact, talking with a friend of mine about how he does this, he's actually listening. There's always that intro, first part of a meeting, first part, where your salesperson is talking, you're asking questions, he's asking questions, trying to find out specifically what is it about our product that you think you want to see. What do you want to hear more about? What are the issues that you're trying to solve? He will actually be changing the deck up based on those answers as they're going through them. You have to be good to be able to do that, because you don't want to be looking like you're paying attention to your laptop or whatever more than paying attention to the customer and what they're saying. You want to be engaged. Number 3, we all have seen it. We've all lived through it. I'd say we've probably all done it at one point or another. Death by PowerPoint. Death by PowerPoint is such a huge issue, and it's real. I challenge you, when you're doing a presentation, a lot of times we as techies love to throw information onto a slide or just throw it out there. When you're creating your presentation, and it needs to be your presentation, because presentation skills are different between everybody. And when you get a deck from somebody, that's their deck. That's how they present. You need to figure out your own voice. But death by PowerPoint. Nobody likes to sit through 20, 30, 40, 50 slides. You will put them to sleep. You will lose their interest. They won't care. They won't even remember what you came in for. They will remember you for a bad presentation, but that's not what you're looking to give them. So, 10 slides, most, and make them bare bones as much as possible. Don't put all the information on the slide. Otherwise, they can just read the slide and you don't need to talk. That's not what you're there for. You're there not to bore them, not to have them necessarily looking at the PowerPoint unless you're drawing attention to it. You want them to be focusing on you and your messaging. You can almost think of a slide as table of contents for where you're going. It's your agenda for each point that you want to discuss. So, and this also goes to the tailoring appropriately. If you have a lot of memes and GIFs and things like that, probably not appropriate for C-level. So keep it simple, keep it short. Don't make them read the PowerPoint slide. There should be no reason for that. One of the greatest things that I see people do, and I've tried to do this, and it's definitely a work in progress for me, is your PowerPoint deck is random images or something. You're giving your talk, but what's going on behind you has absolutely nothing to do with what you're talking about. It's just there because you had to have a PowerPoint. It's interesting because those people that can do that, they have great presentation skills and they can deliver the message and everything without a bunch of complicated PowerPoints. Number 4, don't be afraid to deviate from what you're presenting. So you customize your deck, you get ready, you get up there. As you're going through, somebody asks a question and it's like, oh yeah, okay. Now, a lot of people will just try to get right back going down where they were going. And that may be what you need to do. But also, if somebody comes up and they express an interest in something that maybe you've just shown them, but your PowerPoint isn't prepared to go down that road, so what? Be prepared to deviate. If a customer shows interest, don't shoo them off. Follow it. Go. Embrace it, because that may be really what they're looking for after all, and you may have a great solution for it. So don't be afraid to deviate. Be prepared for it. And the other way around, if you're going down a road and you're reading the room and you're seeing boredom and things like that, yeah, maybe it's time to kind of change it up, hit a different direction. And they may even tell you, yeah, this doesn't really apply to us at all. Don't power through those points and try to make it something they care about. Doesn't work most of the time. Demonstrations. What is better than a PowerPoint? Well, pretty much anything. But if you can demo the product or show a demo, that's gold, right? You want as few PowerPoints as possible. You want to show them the product, what it can do, how easy it is to use. That is what they want to see. They don't want to see a bunch of screenshots. They don't want to see words on a PowerPoint. They want to see it in action. Does it work? Does it work for you? Now, granted, live demos are always a loaded gun. But you know what? Having a demo screw up, you know what? It happens. And it shows that you're actually using the product. So you need to be able to take those little bumps, those little hiccups, and be engaging about it. Own it. Own it. There is no perfect software. Software is designed by humans. Humans are not perfect. They cannot make perfect software. Just go with it and have fun. But demonstrating the product is the best way to get in the door and get ready for a POC. Just give them a taste. Give them a taste. Break up the meet. So at Unidesk, we really tried to follow. You have a 10 to 15 minute intro, questions, kind of 10 to 15 minutes. The first part of the hour is, getting to know the customers, introducing everybody, and asking your questions, your probing questions. I'm trying to figure out what exactly they are looking for, because they may not know, or what they think they're looking for may not be correct. So make sure you're asking questions. Then the next, let's say half hour, 20 minutes or so, is going to be some slides, and then hopefully your demonstration. Okay? So you don't want to take too much time in that 10-15 minutes. I mean, I don't want to say the quicker you can get through it, the better, but if you've got questions and you're getting good information, then keep going. But have an agenda and try to stick with it. So now you get in, you do your presentation, you cut off, you now go to the demo. I'm one that likes them to ask questions in the moment, because it shows there's an interest. It's communication. It's feedback for you to be able to know, is it interesting, not interesting? Is it hitting a pain point? Is it not? For you to adjust on the fly. So I like questions, presentation, demo, whatever. I like having questions thrown at me, because it means they're engaged. So, when that happens, that's great. If you're not getting the engagement, have questions to ask about a feature that you've just shown. I'll keep a list of questions ready and available to ask a customer, just kind of generic things to try to get that communication going, because sometimes people don't like to speak up. You really need to get them to speak up. Another thing too is when you're demoing, Create a story. Have a story around what you're doing. Don't just click here, open this, new, settings go here, push, it gets pushed down to the client, whatever. You want to have a story around what you're doing. Joe the admin came in one day and decided that he needed to update all of his servers with such and such a patch, or critical security patches just come out. What do? You make a story around it, make it engaging, and make it fun. Very, very critical for any presentation. Now, here's where things can get a little squirrely. When you are demonstrating a product, anything, when you're demonstrating anything, when you're in front of people, show emotion, show excitement. And especially when, before we were doing face-to-face Zoom calls all the time, there were times where you'd be on a phone or on a non-video conference call. You're showing them PowerPoints. You're going through the demo. They can't see you. You can't see them. You need to be able to convey your absolute love and adoration of your company and your products through your voice. And this is true whether it's non-video or video. You need to convey what a great product it is. And I don't care if it's your first demo of the day. I don't care if it's your 8th demo of the day. You have to show that same excitement level every step of the way. From 9 a.m. until 8 p.m., you're doing straight demos. It's hard. It's not fun for you. But if you want to get your foot in the door and make a sale, you have to keep up that energy level. You got to keep it going. It is hard to do. I will admit there are times where you're going to feel like not good, you're sick, whatever the case may be, but you got to be excited. You got to know what's going on. And then kind of touched on this already. The indifferent audiences. This is tough. This is tough, man. When you get going and you're excited, you think things are going well, but you can see on their faces, they're just, oh, yeah, it's not fun. And that's really where you need to try to get them engaged. The list of questions that you may have prepared ahead of time. Know their vertical. If you're talking to a bank, have some information you may have just looked up, either about their bank, could be about the finance sector, whatever the case may be. Try to draw them in. You really need to try to draw them in. And yeah, sometimes it's going to be up to you to draw them in. So yeah, those are the 8 points I wanted to go through today for presentations. I could go on, I feel like, forever about each one of these points. Point 1, I think it was customize the deck was point 1. Point 2, know your audience. 3, death by PowerPoint. It is real. Don't be afraid to deviate. Do demos. Demos are the ultimate form of selling your product if you can do demos. Crazy successful when you can show the product in action. Make sure you have an agenda. Don't let the talking go for half an hour and then have to shorten your presentation. Okay? That can happen very easily. So make sure you have an agenda. Make sure you try to stick to that agenda as much as possible, because you want them asking questions not only during the presentation, but at the end as well. Energy. You have to be energetic. You have to love your product. Even if you don't love your product, you have to sell it that you love your product. So that's so critical. There's nothing worse than having to sit through a PowerPoint in any form, except when the presenter is just, yeah, you don't want to do that. And in different audiences, it is crucial that you try to pull them in. Sometimes it just won't work, no matter what you do. But you really got to try. Bring them in. Ask them questions. Ask them, give little anecdotes, maybe that you found out about whatever bank you're talking to, those types of things. Many times it will work. There are times it simply won't, and there's just, at least you tried. There's just nothing you can do about those audiences sometimes. Thank you, everybody, for presentations. If you would like to learn more, I would be more than willing to get into discussions with anybody about how to do great presentations. Also, click the subscribe button, click the bell so that you know when DJ and I, or I, both of us all together, who knows, are going live. We've got a lot of content coming your way, and you do not want to miss any of it. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.